The leather-bound diary, its edges frayed and stained with time, cost just $3 at an estate sale in upstate New York. Tucked among chipped porcelain teacups and moth-eaten shawls in a crumbling Victorian mansion, it seemed like nothing more than a curiosity, a forgotten relic of someone's private musings. The woman who bought it, Eleanor Grayson, a retired librarian with a penchant for old books and a nose for hidden stories, had no idea what she'd stumbled upon. She slipped it into her tote bag, paid the bored cashier, and drove home through the misty autumn hills, unaware that those yellowed pages would unravel a decades-old mystery tied to one of America's most glamorous fashion empires and spark a Netflix investigation that would grip the nation. Eleanor, at 62, had always believed that secrets, like seeds, eventually pushed their way to the surface. She was about to prove herself right. The mansion itself was no stranger to whispers. Built in 1887 by a textile magnate, it had passed through hands like a bad penny, each owner leaving behind rumors of strange happenings. By the time Sotheby's auctioned it off in 2023 for a cool $4.2 million, the place was a fixer-upper's nightmare. Sagging floors, peeling wallpaper, and a widow's walk that creaked under the weight of its own ghosts. The diary came from a locked trunk in the attic, one of dozens overlooked by the auction house's appraisers. Eleanor, who'd spent her career cataloging rare manuscripts, felt a thrill when she cracked it open that night, her tabby cat purring at her feet. The handwriting was elegant but erratic, as if the writer's hand trembled with urgency. Dates stretched from 1978 to 1983, and the entries spoke of rituals, candles arranged in circles, chants under moonlight, and names that sent a chill down her spine. One name appeared again and again: Gucci. Eleanor wasn't a fashionista. Her wardrobe leaned toward sensible cardigans and sturdy loafers. But even she knew Gucci. The brand screamed luxury. Handbags that cost more than her monthly pension, scarves draped over celebrities at galas she'd only read about in magazines. Yet here, in this diary, Gucci wasn't just a label. It was a code, a thread woven through cryptic passages about offerings and sacrifices tied to power. The writer, who signed only as L, described meetings in Manhattan penthouses, where men and women in tailored suits spoke of loyalty not to a company, but to something older, darker. Eleanor's first thought was that it was fiction, a gothic novel someone abandoned. But the details were too precise. Addresses on Fifth Avenue, a private club in Soho, a yacht docked off Montauk. She Googled the addresses. They existed. One was a Gucci flagship store, opened in 1979. Her hands shook as she read further. The diary mentioned a death. A man, unnamed, found in an alley near the store. His throat slit in a way the writer called ceremonial. No police report, no news clipping, just a date. March 12th, 1980. Eleanor, who'd grown up watching Perry Mason reruns with her dad, couldn't resist. She drove to the local library, her old workplace, and dug into newspaper archives. Microfiche spun under her fingers, and there it was. A small article in the New York Post, buried on page 17. Unidentified man found dead in Midtown. The date matched. No suspects, no motive. Case colder than a January morning. Her heart raced. This wasn't a story. It was real. Eleanor's cozy bungalow became a war room. She spread out maps, pinned up index cards, and called her old college roommate Marjorie, a retired journalist who'd once sniffed out a City Hall scandal. Marjorie, 64 and bored with golf, arrived with a bottle of Pinot Noir and a laptop. Together, they cross-referenced every name and place in the diary. Some led nowhere, dead ends, like a defunct bakery or a demolished hotel. But others hit pay dirt, a woman mentioned as Celia, the keeper, matched a Cecilia Martel, a Gucci executive in the 80s who vanished after a boardroom shakeup. Another entry referenced the artist, linked to a painter whose murals still hung in Gucci's corporate offices. The deeper they dug, the stranger it got. The diary hinted at a network, not just designers or CEOs, but people outside the company, connected by wealth and secrets. One passage described a ritual on a Long Island estate where blood sealed the pact. Eleanor and Marjorie exchanged looks. This was bigger than they'd imagined. By winter, Eleanor's discovery had leaked. A neighbor's kid, helping with her Wi-Fi, she saw her notes and posted about it on Reddit. The thread exploded. Haunted Gucci diary found in creepy mansion. True crime junkies swarmed, and soon a Netflix producer named Carla Ruiz knocked on Eleanor's door. Carla, sharp and relentless, smelled a hit. She envisioned a docuseries blending fashion, murder, and mystery, perfect for the 55-plus crowd who devoured Making a Murderer and The Jinx. Eleanor hesitated. She wasn't one for the spotlight, and her bunions ached at the thought of cameras. But Marjorie pushed her. Ellie, this could blow the lid off something huge. You're not just a librarian anymore. You're a detective. Production began in spring 2024, and Netflix spared no expense. Drones swept over the mansion, now half restored by its new owner, a tech mogul who didn't mind the publicity. Archivists pulled Gucci's corporate records, revealing gaps in the 80s, missing expense reports, unexplained payments to shell companies. Carla interviewed former employees, some in their 70s, who spoke off-camera about weird vibes at headquarters, locked rooms, late-night meetings, a sense that not everyone was there to sell purses. The diary became the show's centerpiece, its pages scanned in high-def L's, handwriting glowing like a treasure map. Eleanor, reluctantly mic'd up, narrated her find, her soft voice cutting through reenactments of shadowy figures and blood-red candles. Viewers ate it up, especially retirees like Bob and Linda Carter, a couple from Ohio who binged it over meatloaf dinners, texting their kids about that creepy Gucci cult. The series, titled The Gucci Enigma, dropped in October 2024 and shot to Netflix's top 10. It didn't just entertain, it reopened wounds. Families of cold case victims from the 80s flooded tip lines, wondering if their loved ones tied to the diary's cryptic deaths. A retired NYPD detective, now 68, came forward with a dusty file on the 1980 Alley murder. He'd always suspected a cover-up. The victim, a low-level Gucci tailor, had been carrying a strange medallion, etched with symbols nobody could ID. The medallion, long lost in evidence lockup, matched a sketch in the diary. Social media buzzed. Was Gucci hiding something? Had Elle been a whistleblower or a mastermind? Gucci's PR team scrambled. The brand, now a juggernaut under Kering, issued a statement. We're cooperating fully with any inquiries, but these allegations are baseless. Sales dipped 3% as younger shoppers, spooked by TikTok theories, swapped Gucci for Prada. Older fans, though, weren't fazed. At a senior center in Boca Raton, 60-year-old Diane Russo told her book club, "I've worn Gucci since '85. A little mystery makes it sexier." Still, the company quietly hired a crisis firm, and rumors swirled about shredded documents from the 80s, though nothing was proven. Eleanor, meanwhile, became an unlikely celebrity. AARP magazine ran a profile, the librarian who cracked Gucci's code. She got fan mail from viewers her age, women who saw themselves in her, curious, stubborn, unafraid to chase truth past 60. But not everyone was a fan. Late one night, her doorbell camera caught a man in a hoodie slipping a note under her mat. "Stop digging." Marjorie wanted to call the cops. But Eleanor refused. She'd read enough Agatha Christie to know fear meant she was close. Instead, she mailed the diary to Carla for safekeeping, keeping only her photocopies. The investigation deepened. Netflix funded a second season, sending researchers to Italy, where Gucci's roots lay. In Florence, a former seamstress, now 80, whispered about a circle within the company, elites who guarded the brand's legacy with fanaticism. She wouldn't go on camera, but her story matched the diary's tone. Power, not profit, drove them. Back in New York, a Sotheby's clerk admitted the mansion's auction had been rushed, hinting that someone wanted its contents buried. The trunk's lock, he said, bore a Gucci crest. Was it coincidence or a clue? Eleanor's life changed, but not entirely. She still tended her roses, still met Marjorie for coffee at the diner. Yet her eyes scanned every stranger, wondering if they knew Elle. The diary's final entry haunted her. The truth is a blade. It cuts both ways. At night, she'd sit by her window, the mansion's shadow lingering in her mind. She wasn't done digging, not yet. As the Gucci enigma streamed into millions of homes, it tapped a nerve for Americans over 55. They remembered the 80s, the excess, the ambition, the secrets tucked behind glamour. For them, the series wasn't just a mystery, it was a mirror. Bob Carter, pausing his TV, turned to Linda and said, "Think we'll ever know the whole story?" Linda, knitting a scarf, didn't look up. "Maybe," she said, "but I bet it's uglier than we think." Outside, the world spun on, but in Eleanor's bungalow, the diary's truth still waited, sharp as ever,